They are two different things. My dad worked in show business, which included radio and TV, and my parents would take us to New York to see plays and musicals, which is what we did. I began when I was about 10 years old and did my first play the next year. Something happened behind the scenes at Let's Make a Deal in 1965 that Monty Hall's family hid for many years. Sharon, his daughter, was there. She was only 12 years old, but she saw everything. She recently told everyone the truth about her dad's door knowledge method. Monty did more than just run the show. He had full control over it. Sharon told everyone about the fake events, secret messages, and cameras that were set up to trick a lot of people. The news is very upsetting. It shows that the popular game show wasn't what it seemed to be. People who watch TV are calling it the worst deception ever. Monty Hall was born on August 25, 1921, as Monty Halperin in a small, rundown house in the north end of Winnipeg. Maurice Harvey Halperin, his father, was from Ukraine and ran a kosher slaughterhouse to feed the family. The business wasn't based on comfort. The winters were very harsh, and he had to kill animals in the garden sometimes just to keep things going. In their neighborhood, many people were from Eastern Europe who had come to America to try to make it after World War I. The Halperin family lived in the same house as their cousins, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. The work and the noise never stopped. By the time Monty was 5, he had already seen his dad have a hard time running the family business. He did this every day, delivering meat on a bike in below freezing weather. It was very cold outside. But it also made him stronger. It helped him be quick on his feet and steady when things got tough. Rose Russin Halperin, his mother, was not like the other women. She was always dressed nicely and strict but kind when she was a teacher. She was very active in the community. She planned Hadassah meetings and pushed for new immigrants to have a better Jewish identity. Golda Meir and Molly Pekin were her heroes, and she found a way to combine the two. Long Shabbat dinners were held every Friday night, with friends crammed into chairs and old stories going around the room. There was love even when there wasn't much food. Rose gave to others even when she had nothing left to give. But she taught Monty how to give anyway. Strangers were fed, and people who were lonely met new people. Monty saw how small acts of kindness could have big effects. He thought about it a lot. Everything changed again when I was 10. He felt better after going to a comedy show downtown with them. He started to do the same things at home, messing around with speech, body language, and timing. It made his dad mad. To protect the family business, he asked Monty to go with him into the slaughterhouse. But Monty couldn't stand the smell or the sight of the blood. He found another way to be himself at Lord Selkirk School. He took part in school plays and arguments and let people see him. Some of his peers made fun of him because he was Jewish and because he looked and sounded different. There was no giving up for Monty. By the time he was 12, he was already working as a radio host and making just enough money to pay for food. He got a taste of something better from what he had. He got into St. John's High School when he was 14. In that place, he found a balance between his love of animals and his growing interest in radio. He made his own amateur radio transmitter and put together comic shows that he broadcast on student radio. Max Fried, a wealthy Jewish businessman, saw him play at a synagogue event. Fried liked something about Monty and gave him a full grant. This wasn't just to help pay for school. There was a hand here from another world. Boy, Jews in Canada didn't have many of these chances because many doors were still closed by limits and quiet racism. In the end, Monty said that Max Fried was the person who made his life better. Monty kept working even though he had the grant. He worked in a butcher shop for 2 years after high school. Work 14-hour days and save all their money. He stayed there overnight sometimes and slept on meat hooks to save money on rent. To get to the University of Manitoba, which cost $75 a year, he had to work 2 years and make $150. He learned about science and animals, but what he really learned was how to keep going. That shop had been both a jail and a place to learn. It was Monty's dream to become a doctor. He tried to get into medical school in 1943, but it didn't matter how well he did in school. Someone was keeping track of Jews, but no one said anything about it. Most schools in Canada didn't let more than 5% of their kids be Jewish. Jews were not allowed to attend McGill as many times as they used to since the 1930s. Monty was turned down without any reason given. As time went on, he said, "I was told I was qualified, but there was no room." His dream came to an end in quiet. He could have stayed angry. He changed his mind instead. If medicine wasn't available, he might be able to escape with laughs and words. He began performing satirical skits on college radio while at the University of Manitoba. During the war, people loved his speech because it was quick and sure of itself. He made fun of the Axis forces with sharp jokes that made everyone laugh. He used his entertainment as a way to help people. They didn't draft him because his job in the butcher shop made him an important part of the food chain. Monty stayed behind and talked into a microphone while his friends went to war. This kept people at home entertained. He kept getting better at what he did by cutting meat during the day and presenting shows at night. Things reached their peak in 1944. His dad told him to go to the slaughterhouse. It was a safe future with clean money that you could count on. But Monty told him no, "I'll make deals with words, not knives." That line was very sharp. At the time, Monty's family didn't get it, but he was set on doing it. He had learned everything the shop could teach him. It was now time to bet. Max Fried still had faith in him. He kept sending Monty to school on his own dime. For his part, Monty kept learning. During his free time, he played poker with his friends and learned how to bluff, red faces, and win even when he was alone. In the end, he said that poker taught him how to run a game show. Each person had a clue, and Monty knew how to find them. Monty got his first real radio job at CKRC in Winnipeg after high school, in 1945. He told people about the weather, but he made them into funny sketches. People started to tune in just to hear his jokes. The number of calls went up by 30%, but the pay was terrible. He still had to work as a butcher on the side to make ends meet. He learned something important that year. There was never enough talent. It was a grind until someone paid attention. By 1946, he was putting on live music events at the Winnipeg Playhouse Theatre. He stood backstage and calmed down dancers and singers who were getting tense. He would whisper a joke, smile, and then give them the go-ahead. People loved him. How he dealt with awkward silences and how he quickly fixed mistakes. He got the idea from seeing his mom run Hadassah events. With just gut and charm. In the fall of that year, Monty went to Toronto with his things. The largest radio station in town, CFRB, hired him. The people in charge changed his name from Monty Halperin to Monty Hall. It seemed more American to them. He became the host of Comic Weekly and talked to famous people like Bob Hope. The show did well, but Monty didn't get much of the money. When his pay was held back by management, he quit. There was no news. "I got up and left." Because of that protest, he is now not afraid to start over. Things got worse in 1948. His pay stopped because the CPF station went on strike. Monty told his viewers what was going on during a live show. He laughed, but he was also serious. His words were, "I need help." Within minutes, there were a lot of calls and letters. People sent him money in the mail. During that time, he raised $200. It kept him going for months. He learned that day how important it was to connect with the crowd. It wasn't just a show, it kept them alive. At about the same time, he met Marilyn Berger at an audition for the radio. She was smart, determined, and got him right away. On September 28, 1947, they got married. Even though their budget was tight and their flat was small, Marilyn helped him edit his scripts, kept him on track, and never let him forget what he could do. She saw what kind of Monty he was still making. Then Monty went too far in 1949. He showed a political skit making fun of Canadian leaders, and the sponsors were very angry. A lot of complaints came in. A lot of threats to take down ads came quickly. Monty was almost fired, but he didn't run away. He got back on the mic. He said sorry on air every day for a week. Not with reasons, but with the truth. People in the room forgave him. The joke that almost ended his career saved it in the end. For Monty, that week taught him how to handle both success and failure. In 1950, Monty Hall came to New York with only $1,000. It was all saved from work on the radio in Canada. He didn't have an agency, any real contacts, or a plan B. Just a desire. He left his cheap Manhattan apartment every morning and walked all over the city for hours, knocking on doors, shaking hands, asking for an audition, or anything else. He finally got a job on Sid Caesar's Show of Shows, but not as a host. Instead, he was a judge on the show. In 1951, a guest froze in the middle of a monologue. There was dead quiet, and ratings disaster was on the way. Monty jumped in and made up lines on the spot that saved the whole section. After the show, Sid Caesar shook Monty's hand and thanked him for keeping the show going. Monty learned something from that moment. Not only did he fit in, he could also make things up on the spot. He was able to think quickly when it mattered the most. His whole life would be shaped by that skill. NBC gave him control of Dr. IQ in 1952. It was a live game show where people from the street answered questions for real money. Monty was finally the star of a show. Things go wrong on live TV, though. In one episode, he said the prize number out loud before a contestant had finished their answer. It was a simple mistake, a slip. But NBC executives didn't blink. They fired him right away. That one mistake could have been the end of his career. Ratings went down. The show was over. For a while, Monty wasn't on the network. Licking his cuts and thinking about what happened over and over. He didn't give up, though. He learned. He began to think like a director instead of just a performer. His first test of his ideas was on the show Beat the Clock in 1950, just before Dr. IQ. It was just a side job for him, but his thoughts helped shape the future of the show. Monty came up with the idea of adding dangerous stunts. Crazy tasks shown live on TV, throwing pies, and being blinded. It worked. In just one season, the ratings went up by 40%. But being famous cost him something. His wife Marilyn felt some pain when she thought about those times. Most of the time, Monty got home after midnight, tired and alone. His drive was already putting their marriage to the test, but now he was also changing TV because of him. His first job was as a freelancer for CBS's Video Village in 1955. It was a board game show for kids with real kids competing. Monty helped plan the sets and the mood on stage. In 1956, there was a tape that went wrong. In front of the cameras, a child contestant broke down and screamed, refusing to play. The team became scared. Took over, settled the kid down with kind words, and moved the show along. People in the business talked about that one show as proof that Monty could handle live chaos without losing his cool. In 1954, Monty met Stephen Haddows, who produced game shows and had the same ideas as him. A Hollywood party was where they came up with ideas while drinking. They talked about The Sky's the Limit, a show where contestants did crazy things like trapeze acts. One of those pranks hurt someone real well. Even though the show was cancelled, Monty and Haddows didn't quit. The plan was thought to work. They just needed to find the best mix of risk and profit. Then, in 1956, Monty did the bravest thing he had ever done. To pay for a demo reel, he took out a mortgage on his Brooklyn house. On it, he talked to people on the street and made up fake deals by being charismatic and charming. He sent it to everyone. Danny Thomas saw it and invited Monty to be a guest on Make Room for Daddy. The mortgage money that went into that reel changed everything. It showed that surprise and charm could sell. He got rich from that risk he took on himself. Monty was ready for the big game by 1963. He drew "Let's Make a Deal" on a napkin while having lunch with NBC executives. 3 doors and a zonk. A choice that isn't based on skill but on psychology. NBC wasn't happy with it. They said it was silly. Monty did not move. He pushed more. In the end, they agreed to only have one driver. Movies for that pilot were shot at Burbank Studios. Out of 550 costumed contestants, Monty chose 42 to be on the show. It took 12 hours to shoot. A free ham sandwich a day kept the crew going. The chaos in front of the camera matched the busy work going on behind the scenes. The pilot went off with a lot of excitement. It worked. People in the room wanted more. The first show was on December 30, 1963. The big prize was a car worth $10,000. 10 million people watched that night. They were interested in more than just the big prize, though. Monty went off script while the tape was being made. He took an envelope with $500 in it. And live on air raised the price to $700. At that point, the show felt exciting. He did more than just read lines, he played the room. It became a surprise every night. But Monty knew more than the people in the crowd behind the curtain. He learned what was behind each door with the help of cue cards. He said it was like reading Henry James. It wasn't cheating, it was just a plan. Because he knew how the game was set up, Monty could gently push players to make big, sometimes heartbreaking choices. People didn't find out about this until Monty finally admitted it in talks in the 1990s. It changed how people thought about the show, but it also made them value it more. While everyone else played checkers, he played chess. When Monty made a choice in 1964, it changed the show for good. He got his wife Marilyn to work as a manager. She came up with a lot of the zonk jokes, like the ones about live goats, exploding boxes, and silly outfits. She even won an award. But things didn't always go well between them. Marilyn and Monty had a fight about casting and production calls. There were fights at home all the time. Still, she made the show better. She gave his confusion some order. They fought behind the curtain, which made the scenes in front of it more clear. Then 1965 came along. NBC told Monty to calm down. There are too many outfits and too much noise. In answer, he put a man in a banana suit right in front of the camera. Because of one act of defiance, officials were upset, but the show's wild personality was set in stone. The banana suit wasn't a joke. It became a sign and a challenge to the polish of big business. Monty had chosen his side. NBC turned off the show in 1968. Monty then took the show to ABC and changed where it was taped to the Hollywood Television Center. There were secret storage stages in the new studio, and 50 zonks were ready to go every day. One had a real cow that got away while the tape was being made. It took them hours to find it. The event was silly and wonderful at the same time. It made the story better. Monty put his weight on it. It doesn't matter how crazy things get as long as the show stays true to its core. Monty had been the host of more than 3,000 shows by 1974. People who lost didn't leave without anything. He would give them a hug and a $50 bill and keep the mood upbeat. About 70% of the players didn't win the big prize, but Monty made sure they left happy. He used psychology to make the blow less painful. He knew how to make a bad loss feel good. That's what kept people coming back. When they were syndicated from 1971 to 1977, they used a different approach. Monty didn't just open doors. He tipped the odds in his favor by making it more likely for the contestants to switch, from 1 in 3 to 2 in 3. This is what the Monty Hall problem was based on. A math puzzle that made analysts go crazy. Sharon, Monty's daughter, later helped make the plans even better. Every reveal was planned. Every second was planned. The show went to Las Vegas in 1976. The first stage was moved to the ballroom at the Westgate Hotel. Some famous people joined the zonks. There was a time when Don Rickles jumped out to roast a judge. At one point, the power went out completely. No more lights. There is no stage or plan. Monty saved the show with jokes and games that weren't in the script for 20 minutes. It is not possible to teach that level of trust. It all went wrong with Monty Hall in 1990. The uproar began with Parade magazine. Mathematicians disagreed on whether moving doors really did make the odds better. Monty stepped in and said that the game was meant to feel fair. Even when it wasn't. He stated that he helped contestants with psychology instead of math. What they said changed everything. It showed how success could change how people see things. Monty was co-producing the show under Haddo's Hall Productions by 1975 and making $1 million a year. But success led to lawsuits. Someone sued because they slipped on a banana peel zonk. Others said they were hurt by fake chaos. Monty had to change how pranks were played. But he couldn't stop the crazy. He only made it safer. Monty brought the show back to life on NBC in 1984. He brought his children this time. Sharon helped plan the show. Trades with famous themes were inspired by Joanna's work on Broadway. Because they used family stories, the show felt more real. That Monty could still change was shown by the reboot. The two of them were married for almost 70 years, from 1947 to 1970. In 1965, tabloids wrongly said he was having an affair, but they got through it. The story almost broke them up, but Marilyn forgave him. That forgiveness was what held their relationship together. In 2017, she died. After 4 months, Monty came after. Their daughter Joanna became an actor who won a Tony Award. Their son Richard became a director who won an Emmy. Sharon, their other daughter, ran Endemol Shine and kept the family name alive by showing how the door information was kept secret behind the scenes. They were raised by Monty in Beverly Hills. At home, he put on fake prize-filled deal nights for the kids. He taught them how to be confident, negotiate, and have fun while they played. ABC abruptly ended Let's Make a Deal in 1976, just as Monty Hall was being called to work on something much bigger than his own show. The networks were scared when they heard about the quiz show cheating incidents from the 1950s. This didn't have anything to do with Monty's show, but he was still pulled into it and asked to speak in Congress. While they were under a lot of pressure and the lights were on, Monty told them very clearly that the contestants had always made the decisions and that the results were never set in stone. His words didn't just protect the show, they also protected something more important. Monty wasn't just trying to get publicity, he was also trying to get people to trust him. But ABC turned off the show. Fans were shocked and didn't know what to think. But Monty stood out in Congress because he was honest. The rest of the game show world was shaking with doubt as he left. After many years, Monty's name went viral again. They are not in TV sets, but in schools. The Monty Hall problem turned into a math puzzle that even scientists couldn't figure out. What would they do if they picked a door and Monty opened a bad one? Should they switch doors or stay? Even though it looked easy, the argument got very nasty. Experts said Monty was lying and changing the numbers just to make a scene. He didn't move, though. He told everyone in talks that the show wasn't about math traps. It was about how people dealt with choice, risk, and pressure. It was a lesson in life, not math, he said. There were arguments between professors, students solved problems, and Monty's name was written all over texts. The problem wasn't his idea, but he became the face of it. That calm, sure look on her face reminded everyone that there was more than math behind every choice. He tried to bring the show back in 1986. In this case, it was for life. But the rebirth quickly ran into legal problems. A lot of lawsuits were filed over issues with zoning and animal rights. The goats on the set made people angry. Then came the fines, the delays, and finally the losses. Somewhere between $500,000 and legal trouble and a production mess went missing. The show was taken off the air. To pay his staff and cover costs, Monty used his own money, even though he was broke. He lived that way, it wasn't just a show to him. In a later joke, he said that the goats were better than the players. Even though it was hard, Monty took it in stride. The man who pulled off that flop wouldn't leave the people who worked with him. In the 1990s, there was a personal storm that got worse. Sharon, his daughter, wanted to bring it up to date for current viewers. Monty wanted it to stay the same, original, and unaltered. The fight got worse, but then something out of the ordinary broke down the wall. Together, they put on a charity gala. Getting $1 million for a cause they both cared about. That night, they stopped being quiet with each other. They got back together not because of TV. It was a goal they all shared. Family was more important than the method. That night did more than just mend the split. It made everyone remember that behind the cameras and the smiles, they were just a family dealing with their differences like everyone else. Another twist happened in 1977. When the FCC looked into it, they found that Monty had quietly paid off some of his winners' IRS bills. He did this alone, no one knew. There were gifts on the show, but the taxes were very high, and Monty didn't want anyone to be caught off guard. The bills were paid for by him personally, and he never bragged or asked for praise. The FCC raised worries about fairness, but most people didn't think it was a big deal. They saw kindness. Some people said he shouldn't have done it in secret, but most saw him as someone who was looking out for the people who made his show great. That didn't make him look bad. It made it stronger. For the new season of Let's Make a Deal in 2003, Wayne Brady took over, and Monty came on to hand off the reins. He looked classy, graceful, and friendly. Behind closed doors, he told a few close friends that the show seemed different now. He wasn't sure if he liked the way things were going. Still, he stayed positive in public, always keeping the future of the show in mind. It was hard to take a step back from what he had built. There was no way Monty could have slammed the door, though. His behaviors were always respectful, even when he had doubts in his heart. Monty's health started to get worse after 2000. He didn't go away after having surgery on his hip. He instead used his time to tell stories and bust some myths about his life. They talked to him in 2012 not to brag but to explain. He wanted people to know what went on behind the scenes. He taught for a living in his later years. Not doing it. People didn't just see a game show host when they saw him. They saw someone who always showed up, even when things got tough. A lot more went on in Monty's life than just fame. He began the Winnipeg Variety Club in the 1950s to assist needy kids. Through telethons, he had earned more than $50 million by 1970. He did more than just host, he also gave out wheelchairs at hospitals. That wasn't for the news. That was for kids. He made plans for other places based on the work he did in Winnipeg. His style wasn't flashy. It was hands-on. Monty thought it was important to show up, and other people did too. Monty was the head of Variety International from 1980 to 1982. He did more than just raise money. He made things we will never forget. At a charity dinner in 1985, he sold his own tuxedo for $10,000. The room was shocked by that move. There was more to it than just performance. It was about getting people to care enough to do something. Variety grew into new countries and helped kids all over the world while he was in charge. Monty didn't have a magic trick. It was heart. In the 1970s, Monty turned his attention to Israel. He paid for tennis courts close to the border with Gaza. Every year, 500 kids from Palestine and Israel trained there together. He didn't want to be in the news. To make peace, he tried. The project had something to do with his mother's work in Hadassah. He thought that sports could bring people together in a way that politics couldn't. When people believed in each other, those courts became a picture of what shared space could look like. In the 1990s, Monty raised even more money, more than $300 million. That number was faster than Jerry Lewis's. They are what he named buildings at UCLA and Johns Hopkins after. Some people said that the fees for celebrities to attend his events were too high. But Monty kept his attention on the end goal. He got the stars to come, raised the money, and built things that would last. Not being liked didn't stop him. His job stayed the same. This award was given to Monty by Variety in 1983. It was the same award given to Winston Churchill. Monty did not hide from the attention. He gave the award to his daughter Marilyn, who had been fighting diabetes in the background. And that personal link changed the meaning of his work for the public. After that, people listened in a different way. They knew that his fight wasn't just for views or numbers. It was for family. His honesty made it easier for other people to talk about their own health problems. That was the kind of stuff he left behind. Monty started to show up at a lot of charity galas in Los Angeles. He was in charge of more than 100 of them and used props from Let's Make a Deal to make games and sales that made $1 million every night. The fake doors turned into signs of hope. His mix of fun and earning money made the event stand out. He did more than just entertain. He got people to work together on a real project. Things got better for people at Cedar Sinai and the Jewish Home for the Aging because of his work. An audit in 1995 showed something that no one thought would be found. During times of economic downturn, Monty paid for 20% of his charity work himself. He didn't slow down when the money ran out. He took his wallet out of his pocket. That wasn't a plan. That was faith. He didn't say it out loud. It wasn't for press. But when it came out, everyone saw how dedicated he was. He was more than just a TV face. People who said they would do something did it. In the late 1990s, Monty stopped working full-time in TV. He went to Beverly Hills and spent the last few years of his life with his family. He saw shows at school. And saw his grandchildren grow. When he died in 2017 at the age of 96, his wife Sharon bought the show's rights. These were things she bought back from a business to make sure the family would always have them. Sharon said that Monty always loved that stage and those doors at his funeral. In 2022, his daughter Joanna talked about how his stage tricks helped her get jobs on Broadway. She called the door theater, the tension, and the surprise, theater of the mind. She used what he taught her in Sondheim shows. What looked like a game show showed her how to read people and use silence to make people feel things. There was a strong link there. Monty's timing and ability to read people turned out to be more than just fun. Sharon also told everyone about a practice that no one knew about. Mountain Joe would kiss door number 3 before every show. It was personal and almost holy. That small thing put him down. It made him think of the fun, the mystery, and the potential. His girls still go to the set and do the same thing. For them, it's not just a thought. It's history. It's history. It's how their dad stays present in a quiet way. Monty died in 2017, 4 months after his wife Marilyn. In the end, they left more than just memories behind. His will left the University of Manitoba with a $10 million grant fund for Jewish students. It was his last act of protest against the racism he had to deal with as a child. The scholarship is still given to people in need, and his children are in charge of it. It wasn't about money. Making sure the doors stayed open for other people was the point. More than 5,000 hours of TV still have Monty's name on them. His game show legacy raised more than $1 billion for good causes. Schools all over the world use his math problem. His children keep the records he left behind safe, and researchers are still using them. The show will go on. His story still stands. It has grown. He made secret tapes in 2016. He told them that if he could open one door in his life, it would be the one that let him spend more time with his family. Sharon gave that tape to other people after he died. Even though Monty didn't have any regrets, he was smart. Now, his daughters try to follow that advice and balance work and home life. People are still moved by the tape's message even though they haven't been made public. When the show came back in 2025, Wayne Brady recognized Monty again. He told the crowd that Monty could do more than just run a game, he could read thoughts. He made everyone think about everything. Brady talked about contestants who were uncertain, like those who were drunk or crazy when they came on stage, and how calm and classy Monty was with them. Every choice made on the show today is still based on that logic.